Good evening, everybody. So as far back as I can remember, people always referred to me as acting mature for my age. So as a young child, what that meant was adulting was the goal. So I took that seriously, and by 19, I was married, pregnant, working full-time, and attending college at night. There wasn't a lot of time for fun and games, so I then decided I was going to choose a career in law, of all things. Again, a very serious, responsible career. Because there's always something at risk in the law, right? There's children at risk, there's money at risk, property, maybe even someone's freedom. And by the time I graduated from law school, my oldest was 11 years old. And the only question he had for me was, "Mom, where are you going to go to school next?" And I also learned that early on that someone's always upset with you when you practice law. Sometimes it's your client, and sometimes it's the other side. So in my first case, I was hired to find and locate a stolen vehicle. And this wasn't just any vehicle. It was the General Lee. It had been built for the final episode of the Dukes of Hazzard. So, it had a little bit of value. For 2 years, I chased that vehicle all over the United States. And it got to the point where I really wasn't sure we were ever going to get the vehicle back. So one August Saturday morning, I got a telephone call from the Tennessee Highway Patrol. And he said to me, "Ma'am, we've just seized your vehicle at Dukes Fest at the Tennessee Motor Speedway. What would you like us to do with that?" And trust me, his accent was far better. But I had my client on a plane that night, and the next day he was getting a police escort out of Tennessee with the vehicle. It was exciting for a young lawyer to have such a great win. The Spokesman Review came out. They did an article, took my picture hanging out of the General Lee, Daisy Duke style. It was very exciting at the time, until about a week later, when I got a telephone call from my client who said, "You might want to take a look at this website." There was my photo from the newspaper, and the website basically suggested that I would perform sexual acts in order to get my order signed. I was mortified. Now, this is before social media, in the early stages of the internet. I fully believed everybody in the world was on the World Wide Web and was going to see this. But that's not what happened. Instead, the career went on, and it continued to be adversarial and suck the life out of me. Then, something started to boil up inside, this secret desire that I had. And at the age of 46, I decided to take all of my now adult children to New York for Christmas. I didn't tell them in advance, but when we got there, I said, "By the way, I'm going to take a stand-up comedy class, and you're going to watch me perform at the Gotham Comedy Club at the end of the week." This was far beyond my comfort zone and completely uncharacteristic. To say my kids were surprised is an understatement. When I walked into the American Comedy Institute, which was a 15 by 15 office that looked much like a law office, except for the 3 rows of folding chairs and the microphone stand and what was a fake brick curtain as a backdrop, you wouldn't otherwise know that it wasn't a law office. So for the next week, we spent time in writing sessions with Stephen Rosenfield, who is the owner and taught the likes of Jim Gaffigan, among many other comedians through the years. So I was very intimidated. We even spent one whole night with the microphone stand, walking up to the microphone stand, taking the microphone out of the stand, putting the microphone back in the stand. But the very important part is moving the stand away from you. You'd be surprised how difficult that is, especially when you're nervous. So we spent some time in writing sessions with Stephen, and I learned that writing comedy is really much like legal writing, because you're just taking your facts, persuasively twisting them to your benefit. In comedy, you want to laugh, right? In the law, you want some ruling in your favor. But I started to talk myself out of doing the performance because I thought, I've really learned a lot. I don't need to really go up there, because I was terrified. So I talked to myself and said, you came all the way to New York. You brought your kids here. Do you really want to give up now? So that desire to actually do the performance really did outweigh the desire to quit. But the night of the performance at the Gotham Comedy Club, my heart was racing. My mouth was so dry. I only had 3 minutes to perform, but I really wasn't sure I could do it. So when I heard my name called and I walked up onto the stage, I made the decision to just leave the microphone right where it was at in the stand. I did not need to have that fight. And I looked out at everyone in the audience, and I could see nothing. Much like tonight, I can see that there's people here, but I cannot make anything out, and that is what I didn't expect. But then I heard my voice, and as I was talking, eventually, I heard laughter. And when I heard that laughter, it was like a bolt of adrenaline, exhilaration that shot through me, and I was hooked. And I realized this was something I needed to do. So I did my set, and I got off and went to the bar, ordered a glass of champagne, and I thought to myself, all of these difficult times in life and all of these humiliating things that happen to us actually make for some pretty good comedy. In fact, my time with the General Lee has turned out to be one of my best jokes. So if I may, so I practiced law for 20 years. It's okay. I've been in recovery now for 5. I've been in recovery from things like this. Once, my photo appeared on a website entitled How to Steal a Car. It said, hire the basket weaving, lesbian looks of Gerri Newell, who will suck the cock of the judge to get her order signed. I know, it's wild. What self-respecting lesbian would do that? Thank you.